I am not a writer, I'm a storyteller. I begin once upon a time, and I pray you will turn the page. But I want to talk to you a little about what you might want to achieve. So first I'm going to say, and think very carefully, how many of you have thought about writing a book? Wow. Wow. You notice the two men in the front did not have their hands in it. It is graceful. How many have actually, I know you're a very young audience, have actually written a book? Oh, still quite a few. And how many have had a book published? Right, now listen carefully, you ambitious ones, you ones who want to go somewhere. For every 1,000 books that are published, every 1,000 books that are written, only one is published. For every 1,000 books that are published, only one gets on to the bestsellers list. For every 1,000 books that get on to the bestsellers list, only one gets the number one. It's tough. It's no different if you want to be a ballet dancer, an opera singer, or play the violin. You need the talent, but you also have to work very hard indeed. I always hope when addressing audiences like this, there will be one thing you will remember, and this is the thing I would like you to remember. Talent plus energy, you can be a king. Energy and no talent, you can still be a prince. Talent and no energy, you will be a pauper. What really matters in the end, if you've been lucky enough to be given a talent, whatever it might be, in the end, what will decide your reputation and your careers is damned hard work. There is no substitute for that. My writing regime is ruthless. I rise at 5:30 every morning and I write from 6 o'clock until 8. I take a 2-hour break and I write from 10 until 12. I take a 2-hour break and I write from 2 until 4. I take a 2-hour break and I write from 6 until 8. And the first draft usually takes about 7 weeks, 8 weeks, every word handwritten. I don't understand machinery. I can switch on a light and that's about all. So every word is handwritten, and by the time the book is finished, it's the 14th draft. And I've probably spent 1,000 hours on it. I wish there was a shortcut, but there isn't. There is no shortcut. I focused myself and decided I was going to write a set of books called the Clifton Chronicles. 7 volumes in a row in 7 years. And all I had was the very simple idea of a young man born in the back streets of Bristol, whose father was a docker, and he wins a scholarship to Bristol Grammar School, and he makes friends with the son of the man who owns the docks. And then he falls in love with her daughter, Emma. A simple story. A simple story that takes them from 1920 through to the present day. I say a simple story because actually there are still millions of people out there who just like a simple story, who just like to be told a tale. You don't need sex, you don't need violence, you don't need bad language, you don't need hobgoblins, you don't need ghosts. Just give them a simple story and make them turn the page. There is no better example. There is no better example. There is no better example than Jane Austen. She lives in a small village in England, and she writes books in her bedroom on the first floor without even telling her parents. She writes books. She wrote a book about 4 women who were looking for a husband, and it becomes one of the world's bestsellers. So she writes another book about 3 women who are looking for a husband, and it becomes one of the world's bestsellers. So she writes a book about 2 women who are looking for a husband, and it becomes a bestseller. And then she writes Emma, the story of one woman who's looking for a husband. So it doesn't matter how simple the story is. Why, with those 4 books, do we turn every page? Because she's a magic storyteller. And that's what I think. I may be wrong, because I'm not a writer, I'm a storyteller. I think that's what people love most. I think, so an opening line can be very important indeed. I remember wrestling with the opening line. Wrestling and wrestling. I remember wrestling and wrestling with the opening line, because you've really got to see it in any book. In any book, you've got to see if you can capture them for that moment. She only stopped screaming when she died. It was then that he began to scream. Very simple opening line. In theory, you know you've got rid of the mother, and you know you've got the son, and you know this boy is going to be very, very important in the book. Now, with the Clifton Chronicles, that became an even bigger challenge, because I knew I was going to write 7 books. And so I've wrestled not with the opening line, but with the opening paragraph. And here it is. And I wrestled and wrestled. I had always intended to lose my virginity on the works outing to Weston-super-Mare, but not with that particular man. That's the opening of the Clifton Chronicles. So you know that that woman, straight away you know that woman is going to be very, very important in the whole book. So opening lines are very important. But once you've written that opening line or that opening paragraph, you're on your own for about 400 pages. Someone asked me the other day in Delhi where the titles come from. Where did you get Cain and Abel? Well, Cain and Abel was originally the protagonists, and then it was the brothers. And then I was walking home one night and thought, Cain and Abel, and had to change all the names all the way through the book, but it was worth it. So people sometimes ask me where this title comes from. This was a man. Well, I stole it from the greatest storyteller that ever lived, the Bard of Stratford upon Avon. Because when he wrote in Julius Caesar his feelings for the noble Brutus, I felt exactly the same way about Harry Clifton in my final novel, of the series. This was the noblest Roman of them all. All the conspirators, save only he, did what they did in envy of great Caesar. He only in a common general thought made one of them. His life was gentle, and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man.